Oh, hang on, I'm missing. Hi, everyone. Good grief. We've got Invisible Dee Dee today. Hold on. Good evening. Hang on. VTube Studio doing it again. Hello. Everything's breaking. Take a few days off. My invisible potion now has problems. 22 months! Oh my goodness, Zon. That's crazy. Thanks for sticking around for so long, my goodness. There I am, hello. May your support be as endless as the stream's love for awkward lunches. I don't know if it's a love of awkward lunches, Sari, but, okay. She's back, I'm back. Sorry. Oh no, VTube Studio's been doing this thing lately where I swear to gosh, I do the double clicky on the icon to open it, and then it's like nothing happens. Like, come on. How you doing? Not bad, not bad. Trying to think here. Work has been work. Fun, exciting, delightful. I have not implemented it yet, but I did get the audio clipped for a new sound routine. Because when we were playing the Angel Beats collab, Tama kept cutting me off with her screams as I describe it. Paimon's VA screams like rent is due. I just need to test it. Make sure A, it works, and B, it's not going to rupture my eardrums. Because sometimes when you upload those sound bites to Twitch, either they're like extremely muted, you can't even hear them, you can barely hear them, or it's like someone put the frickin', what is it, the foghorn to your ear? Important details? Yes, important details. Thank you to the people who uploaded entire, like, what's the word? Montages, collections of Tama's various screams onto YouTube so I could pick and choose. And I did have to, like, go searching for the sound bites on my own. I was just like, whoop. Take it from YouTube. Of course, the websites that rip audio from YouTube videos are even more sketchy now. Stuff tried to download along with the MP3. I'm like, oh hey, I saw that. Don't think I didn't see that. I guess there's like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's like open source extensions now that work with Audacity that lets you, excuse me, like rip the audio without, you know, ripping the audio. But I'm like, I don't know, that sounds too fancy. I just need 2 seconds of this girl going, ah! Just got home from your 3.5-hour teaching at the university. Oh, that started already, huh? They gave you, like, guys, like 0 prep time. Other than your mental battery taking a critical blow, how did it go? If all else fails, we just steal the impression. Yes, Dee Dee scream. someone get, what is it? Art has been collecting the sound bites of me. Someone alert Zon to this one. We can do a perfectly cut off scream. Where is the game? There's the game. Yeah, let's see here. What else? Now that I'm back to work from home and I can actually spend a chunk of the day letting my gacha games run in the background again, I picked up Nikkei again. Nikkei is Nikkei. Nikkei is what I could never play for y'all on stream. Not because it's bad or anything, but just because I know there's enough of y'all that are comfortable with lewd content that I'm like, I can't possibly justify the game where everything jiggles. I was doing the story and there's this one scene where the girl's supposed to be like crying in the snow, begging not to leave, and I'm like, did you really have to sexualize this? Like the way the pose and the angle and everything is, I'm like, this is making me wildly uncomfortable. I'm like, you did have to do it like this. Come on. Just the fact that she's looking up at the player would have been enough for most people. Come on. Went pretty well. I don't think I've met a class with more questions than I could handle at once. From the time I was there, I realized a good portion of these students have what it takes to be scientists. Ooh, very nice. Well, that's good at least. It's good when, you know, they come, what is it? They come prepared with questions because it shows interest and engagement. But it makes me think of the, you know, kids say the darnest things. Like, quotes. It's like, why'd you have to ask me that now? I'm glad it went well, at least, other than your mental battery taking a critical blow. I feel like many questions is a very good sign. Must have done well. Yeah. Well, like I was saying on Discord, based on how you put did you know facts in the little science channel, and the fact that I even went out of the way to make a science channel for y'all to share this stuff, it shows that you do a good job at making things interesting. Because I mean, I think most moonbeams have an innate curiosity anyway. But you pick, in my opinion, Ranger, you picking interesting topics in particular, and you explain stuff really well. Like, there's been a few where I'm like, I feel like I don't have the background in science to fully comprehend this particular topic, but you explain it well enough that, like, say somehow it came up in casual conversation, or like I happened across an article that like makes a passing mention to it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember what that is. Ranger told me about that. You do appreciate the existence of their scientific channel? It just made sense. Like, you, not the, for lack of a better word, it's like the did you know stuff took over, was making a huge dent in the contributions in the general channel, which is not a bad thing, but I'm like, you know what? If someone's posting this much stuff and people are engaging with it, we might as well make a specific area for it. And then that way, on the off chance someone's like, I really don't like Ranger posting science facts 3 times a day, they could just mute the channel. I'd be shocked if someone did that, but you know, considering, like, you know, I'm sure if we did a poll, the amount of moonbeams that are in some kind of tech or science field would be higher than anything else. So it's like, you know what? Sure, whatever. Sometimes you gotta give the people what they want. Sometimes you gotta give the people what they want. And you know what? It let Ranger indirectly develop his ability to explain topics to non-co-workers, which is helping him now in his career. So hey, 2 birds, 1 stone. Did feel General was not a play, but yeah, no, yeah, exactly. You gotta do what you gotta do. And I mean, that's the thing, right? Sometimes when you like, I try to cover the most obvious stuff, and then I find as the Discord server evolves, some channels become, like, obsolete. No one uses them. You find the need to make new channels, all that good stuff. Are you ready to bend realities to make secondary sources truthful? Yeah! Let's go! We are taking fake news and we're making it real news. Oh, so-and-so didn't die? Bang. Well, now they did. Hi. Hi, Tsuma KTV2. Hope everyone is doing well out there. Alright, let me put that there. My desk has not fully converted from apothecary work mode to streamer mode. So I'm like, I don't need this on my desk, I don't need this on my desk, I don't need this on my desk. Also, Zon, big freaking shout out to you for getting me addicted to Corner Pond. I haven't gotten every grade of fish in the lake, but I got an achievement that said you got every fish in the lake, and I'm like, uh-oh. I have unlocked the beach area, but I haven't gotten there yet. I just unlocked, like, the dragonfly bait, and I'm trying to power up the fishing rod a bit more, because now I'm at the point where sometimes the bee or sea rake fish, they're like, you need 120, the equivalent of 120 clicks to reel this in, and I'm like, ah, shit. Level 70? Woof! That's crazy! I'm still at level 30. Also, Tiny Pastures, which I bought in like a bundle with Corner Pond, is pretty good as well. In that one, you like raise animals and like you feed them and like you can decorate it and stuff. It's a bit more standard passive bottom of the screen type stuff. And I mean, it's cute. I like using it here and there. Corner Pond, though, it gets you hooked with the like click the orbs to reel in the fish. Like, oh no. This is supposed to be a passive thing, and here I am like, I leave the room to go feed the cats, and I hear the sound the game makes when you hook a fish, and I'm like, uh-oh. Like, oh, they got me freaking Pavlovian. Some complicated looking space idol. Oh man. know, it's funny. Because, you know, society has gotten to the point where it's like we're trying to make being busy fun. Because it's like, oh, you know, we're supposed to be proud of how busy we are. Well, there's one called Unnamed Space Idol. I don't know if that's the one Zon's co-workers are playing. Free-to-play beginner's guide? What? For an idol game? That's it? I found it! Yay! They really did not put much thought into. Oh, but it's on Google Play and stuff as well. So I guess they'll also, like, take over your phone, so you can't use your phone when you're supposed to be working? That's interesting. You're getting it right now. Well, it's like a standard shoot the aliens one, so if you were expecting, scientist-y things, I'm not sure how much of a scratch it'll itch, but hey. Oh my goodness. Just looking at the screenshots, it's like, I see what you mean by it's like, seems kind of complicated. I think it could be fun, but yeah, you would definitely have to commit yourself to it. Just catch the different fishies. There are two types of people. The people who are like, I must optimize my space idle thing. And I mean, it's interesting that they made it complex, but I'm like, blink. Because there's a YouTube video that's like free to play. And I'm like, you mean this game is pay to win? Super sidetracking, but you got back to Honkai Star Rail officially. Surely your level 60 Sealy will carry you through all the late game content. Oh no. Well, Sealy's not the worst, I would say. And they've made it so, more light cone, like 5-star light cones and stuff are available in the shop. So you might do okay. I would think Sealy will keep you, depending on how far along you are in the story, I'd say Sealy can help carry you through Bellaborg. Or sorry, Bellabog. I guess technically Bellaborg is ZZZ. And probably most of the Liofu stuff. Pinakani, it gets a little tricky because that's when they start pushing different types of meta. Like, in Pinakoni, everything's about break bar and, like, super break and stuff like that. So without, some kind of support to help her bust through the bars, she would have a hard time, but... This was a game your director was talking about justifying his developer support compared to your wifey game. What? I can't believe this person managed to tap into the competitive nature of nerds with their space idol game. Yeah, I'm with Zon. I'm gonna stick with my corner pond and my fish aquarium and, like, you know, my spirit city, like chill pulse, lo-fi. I was looking at a new one by like a Japanese developer. Like apparently you can even like get like stream, like they showed how they got like a VTuber like stream imported into it directly and all that stuff. I'm like, that seems cool. I don't know about Space Idol. I might try it just because like just out of curiosity, but yeah, if it's free to play, I'm already fighting for my life in Honkai Star Rail. I should have posted the screenshot, but I just shared it directly with the Yuna. I was like 109 points off getting the 3-star rating in the apocalyptic like shadow endgame mode in Star Rail, and I'm like, ah! That was my external hard drive. Hang on. When will I stream League of Legends? Never. No, actually, hang on. Correction. How much will you pay me to stream League of Legends? That's the better question here. Because I will try it for a paycheck, but not on my own. I'm game to try most things at least once, but that one you need to cough up the cha-ching. I accept cash, gacha pulls, and memorabilia. My remaining college loan debt? Oof. That's, that's several $1,000s. I like your energy, though. I'm laughing because I've had UMINEKO open in the background and all you hear is the seagulls. Not sure why they are, again, like I guess the UMINEKO are seabirds, or sorry, sea cats, because they go meow. I'm like, I don't really hear the cat, but you know what? Whatever makes them happy. So yeah, last time we left off, Grandpa, was having withdrawal from his absinthe, and he kind of went a little bananas, and Kraus is like, well, no way he's coming to lunch. I'm just gonna go have lunch then. So here we are. Hello, sir. You look like you stole Edgeworth's outfit, apart from having a tie instead of a cravat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the family head's health is not at its best. You seemed extremely sad not to be able to share lunch with you all, now that you have gathered for this event that occurs but once a year. Goda, let the lunch begin. Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon. He really does, right? And hi, Zexu. I love how Kraus is just smoothing this over. Wait, hold on! That's incredible! In Turkey, there are automatic cat food dispensers on the street, which dispense cat foods upon hearing meows. Recently, seagulls have started imitating the cat meows to steal the food. Damn. And saying and calling someone a bird brain is supposed to be an insult. Birds are really smart. Truly powerful creatures, right? Like, that's the behavior we kind of associate with crows and, like, ravens. But apparently seagulls can do it, too. That's crazy. But yeah, I love how Kraus has smoothed this all over, being like, oh yeah, he's not doing well. He's got a really bad cold. He's really sad he can't come see you guys. Meanwhile, what actually happened is the dude is slamming books on his desk and screaming for his servant because the green fairies no longer whisper to him. Never forget chickens used to be T-Rexes. True. To be fair, chickens are terrifying. They can truly be terrifying. VTuber collab screen. Morning, afternoon, evening, however you wanna. I shall begin today's luncheon. Dr. Nanjo, his father's condition really that bad? Couldn't he have at least let us see his face? No. It's more a problem of mood than of physical condition. And for that, there is no medicine I can prescribe. Hey, are we talking about his mood again? You've gotta be kidding me. We took time out for our schedules during this damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing. And now he's, well, I mean, you found out how he's doing. He's not doing well. Then you should be happy, Rudolph. You now know how he's doing. Yeah, he's got a point there. Or what? Would you rather take my place and try to persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding? Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though, Rudolph was willing to be indignant at how self-centered his father was. He wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared a face-to-face meeting. Damn, this is really how you really raised your children well. He calls them vultures and stuff like that, and it's like, whose fault is that? Surely it's yours. Does it seem like his mood will improve before dinner, Klaus-Nissan? I have no idea. If you want to know that, you should ask him directly. Although, I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him. Genji-san's the only one who can get grandfather out of a funk. It's pretty pathetic, though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood. Jessica, don't speak out of turn. She'd planned for a complaint to be heard only by her cousins, but it had reached even Kraus's ears. Scolded, Jessica scowled and turned away, sulking. Geesh. If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick, right? I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood, not that he's got no energy, which at least proves he's got his wits about him. Oh, you do not understand, oh Battler. Oh, Battler. You do not understand the ways of the mentally ill. It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower. However, that doesn't necessarily mean his body will be able to keep up. Since last year, they keep saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. And absinthe, and alcohol. It's right for us to worry about him. Lunch started with the family head seat still empty. The man who should be sitting there had already grown old, and the brilliant glory which had rebuilt the Ushiromiya family in the span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning the meal with that seat still empty, no one felt it was that odd anymore. screen breaking for commercial. Alright, and now it is 1:30 p.m. The Ushinomiya Family Conference was held once every year, on the first weekend of October. If a normal family were to hold a so-called family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other around buckets of sushi or something. Buckets of sushi? However, part of the family's great fortune had been lent out to grandfather's children. And no one in this family was considered an adult until they had met with success in business. So this meeting literally was a conference. Damn. Grandpa's kind of a loser, I gotta say it. How much of the fortune was invested? What sort of business was conducted? How much profit was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or, possibly, how much more would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems like that topics like that were discussed very seriously in the past. My dad said it was like lying on a bed of nails. Apparently it used to be a very serious family meeting, where people were bathed in scornful and angry voices, and some people even got slapped despite their age. Damn. However, that had become a thing of the past. Now, with everyone pursuing their own business ventures and achieving success, it was becoming more of a normal yearly get-together. Even so, telling grandfather about recent events was extremely stressful. So while it was nothing more than the simple get-together for us grandchildren, it was still a real stomach ache for our parents. The absence of the man who was the source of all this trouble, regardless of the reason, probably made today's lunch taste much more delicious. The phrase, while the demon is not around, everyone can relax, comes to mind. Woof. Anyway, let's introduce Jessica's father, whose face I haven't seen for 6 years. The man sitting to my father's left is his oldest brother and Jessica's father, Uncle, oh god. So, the first kanji is the same one as the zo in Kinzo, which in itself is pretty, it's pretty common to use a kanji for one of the parents' names in one of the child's names. I don't know that second one at all. I have not learned that one. I don't even recognize it. This name sure is easy to read. Kurausu. So Kurausu. Krausu. So I guess the last one is Su, and then the first one's supposed to be Kura. Oh, that makes sense. Because I think the other reading for this kanji can be Kura. So it's like, it's storehouse then, if that's the case. Now that we've gotten used to the string of weird names, our perspective is totally skewed. So Kraus doesn't actually seem that bad. It even starts to sound kind of cool. Just like with Aunt Natsuhi, I did have many memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He had never been one to chat with children, and it felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. According to my father's gossip, he was a spiteful and violent man. Oh, great! Just like Grandpa. If what he said is true, Uncle Kraus used to be very domineering from his position as the older sibling, and was despised by all the others. Though despite that, those siblings all seem to be chatting happily together. Oh, when you get to be an adult, sometimes you get a lot better at hiding things like contempt. Oh well, even if their relationship was bad when they were children, sometimes when people grow up and live apart from each other, their relationships change. That's probably what this was. After all, they all had children of about the same age. By sharing the same family environment, they probably profited by exchanging opinions. Maybe because of that, a short while ago, the circle of parents began to discuss the exams Jessica and I would be taking. Jessica, in order to escape questions about exams from my father on her left, purposely faced right while firing a rapid series of comments, not giving him any chance to get a word in. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Kraus and the others. In the very last seat at the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kirie-san. This was my first time meeting him. I had only just been introduced to him, but it seems he's grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. So the Nan is the kanji for south? Joe? Might be condition? I'm not 100% sure. It looks familiar, but I think there's an extra stroke than what I'm thinking, so it's not the kanji I'm thinking of, but still. I heard he used to own a huge clinic on the nearby island of Nijima, but he turned it over to his son and began living a life of leisure in his old age. He had known grandfather since the very beginning, when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and had built up a relationship over several decades. I thought at first that the two of them might have gone to know each other through grandfather's suspicious hobbies, but it seemed he was actually grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby seems very like our grandfather, what with his love of all things Western. Nanjo was probably the only person who could ever enter Rokkenjima, despite being neither a family member nor a servant. He looked like a calm old gentleman as he listened to the discussion between Kirie-san and the other women who sat near to him. Considering how long he stayed by the side of our short-tempered grandfather, his generous heart was probably nothing to laugh at. Kinzo Go Shogi? Nonsense. Just as much more advanced Go? Might as well be checkers. Still, even if he was the family doctor, having anyone outside the Ushiromiya family attend the family conference was a little odd. It made me think that grandfather's condition might have worsened so much it'd be a major topic of discussion at today's conference. Just don't underestimate checkers, man. I mean, to be fair, I don't know how to play checkers. I think I wanted to learn at some point, but I was quite young, so I didn't really grasp the rules because, you know, kids trying to explain games to kids is always a nightmare. After all, George said something like that just a second ago. Something about how we've been getting continuous reports since around last year that grandfather didn't have long to live. It's nasty to think about, but considering how rich grandfather is, at the time of his death, his wealth will suddenly be released, probably along with a fair share of our parents' stomach acid. That makes it sound like they're gonna throw up. And it'll lead to ulcers for everyone, woof. After all, this sort of thing just gets messier when there's more wealth to be divided. There's a good chance they'll be talking about stuff like that at the family conference. Still, it's not like it's got anything to do with us kids. Finally, even though he hasn't shown up, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting in that incipience chair is Ushiromiya Kinzo. It really sucks. Everyone else in the family has these weird names, but he's got this perfectly normal one himself. If only his name were written Kinzo, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something, I'd totally freak out. Yeah, I guess his name means like gold warehouse, technically. Which, I mean, is a pretty good name for someone who ended up becoming filthy rich. As you can probably guess by now, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. I'm one of his grandchildren, not a son, and I haven't seen him since elementary school. Thanks to that, I have no memory of being beaten myself, but our parents were apparently raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should go convince grandfather to come down seems pretty darn funny once you know their background. Can't really tell grandfather's story without covering the pivotal event back before the Showa era. Ah, yes, the Showa era! Man, the Showa era was a good chunk of time. For those who don't know, Japan does use, we call it, what is it, the Gregorian calendar as well, but also they use, it's like an imperial calendar. I forget what its name actually is. I learned it at some point. But either way, so they divide in eras. Takes place in 1986, so that might be the Showa era as well. It would be, yeah. If the Showa era was 1926 to 1989. Because, yeah, they divide everything into eras based on who the emperor. So when the latest emperor came into power in, like, what was it? 2020, somewhere around there. That's why it became Reiwa. And before that was, I forget what the era of, like, the 90s to the mid 2000s was. But Showa is, like, the wartime up until the start of, like, the start of the 90s. So sometimes you'll hear someone talk about it's like, oh, like, you're a real, like, Showa girl or something like that in anime, and that's meant to be like, oh, you're, like, super old fashioned. Like, it's like telling someone it's like, oh, you dress like a grandmother kind of thing. Until the Meiji, yes, Taisho! Yes, Kimitsu no Yaiba. But yeah, the Meiji was actually a decent chunk of time either. The Taisho era, though, woof. That was just 10 years. Because, yeah, if you look back historically, some of the eras tend to be quite short because it's based on, like, succession and stuff, right? So some of the emperors didn't last long, Right? So before Meiji was Keo, I think. It was Keo, and then I think there were a few eras before that, and then it was Sengoku, which is like, like 400-year period of, like, wartime. And then before that was Heiwa, which is like, like 1 year 1000 AD kind of stuff. And Heiwa literally means peaceful time, so, like, everything was, like, pretty chill for the most part. That's like when Murasaki Shikibu was alive and stuff like that. But yeah, Meiji Revolution, if you ever watched Rurouni Kenshin or anything to do with the Shinsengumi, they were prevalent right before the Meiji. Like, Rurouni Kenshin takes place during the Meiji era, but, like, the Shinsengumi was active right before the Meiji era, and then the few people who survived were around during the Meiji. Meiji is when the Western influence started to take hold. Because the whole war right before that, it was basically a civil war about whether or not to keep following the shogunate or the emperor. And then because the emperor ended up winning and the shogunate ended up falling by the wayside, eventually Japan opened its doors to the West and all of that stuff. Mini history lesson. I'm sure I've told some of it incorrectly. It's not like I studied it in depth, but... So yeah, until the Meiji and Taisho eras, the Ushinomiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills, making them rich enough to just double over laughing every day as the money kept rolling in. Owned several spinning mills. So is that... I'm guessing that's for fabric and probably also for rice polishing? Incidentally, grandfather was a member of a branch family and had pretty much nothing to do with the main family. Oh, but then everyone died, right? Not only was he way down the list of people who could inherit the headship, but he had hardly any contact with the glamorous main family. Whoa! Not the... oh god, the Kanto earthquake. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in the year Taisho 12, 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushinomiya family in Odawara was flattened. Yeah, the earthquake was real bad. I mean, the earthquake itself was bad, but apparently all the houses are made of wood, right? And they're all not well constructed, so that lent to this problem. Also, why the Great Fire did so much damage, because, you know, everything's made out of wood, and everything's touching everything else. That's why, you know, the argument for, like, you know, Western architecture and having all of the houses stand by themselves on plots of land, it's like, that's wasted space. I'm like, yeah, but on the one hand, if one house catches fire, there's less chance it's going to spread to the other houses. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire. Ah, yes. And the Ushinomiya family lost most of its wealth and family members in an instant. Yeah, natural disasters, man. So once they started trying to figure out who the successor to the Ushinomiya family should be, they apparently found no one remaining except Kinzo and his branch family. You telling me every other male died? That's crazy. In Kinzo's later reminiscence, he referred to this as good fortune so great that it overturned fate. With that, grandfather's boring everyday life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the dying Ushinomiya family, which had lost nearly all of its wealth. However, just because he had been entrusted with this task, didn't mean he could accomplish it. Apparently, those around him weren't really expecting much. However, this is when grandfather began displaying his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of the family's remaining wealth, as well as everything from the hair on his head to his toenails, as collateral in order to borrow a massive amount of money. Oh, not the... Bro was literally like, yeah, if I can't pay this back, just chop me up. It's fine. Once he had built up a gigantic war chest, he immediately invested in businesses. It was like someone tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike, and then another one. Just like some crazy street performance. I'll bet everyone thought grandfather had no business ability whatsoever. However, after several miracles and turns of good luck, with confident coincidences piling up and every chance being taken advantage of, he was suddenly in control of powerful connections with the occupying forces. Oh! Well, that would do it. By occupying forces, they mean, the Americans. Because this was the war times, remember? Yep. Good old MacArthur. At that time, MacArthur and the GHQ were the ultimate authority in Japan. Yeah, because part of, the effects of the end of the war was Japan got occupied. Grandfather, in a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in businesses under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. By this point, it's probably safe to say that information, not luck, saved the day. He must have made some seriously deep connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew beforehand about emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War. Oh, not the insider trading! No, it was more than that. He must have predicted those emergency demands from the very beginning when he started investing his money. The history books make it sound like all of Japan made a large profit off of the emergency demands during the Korean War, but that isn't actually true. Only a very limited number of the super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, Grandfather was a member of this extremely lucky group of winners. I'm pretty sure this all happened during the year Showa 25, 1950 or so. The Great Kanto earthquake happened in Taisho 13, 1924, so that means Grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushinomiya family in only about 20 years to a level even higher than it had ever been before. Yeah, that's a little suspicious. With that, you'd think he'd revive the main family in Odawara. But for some reason, he went and did something as crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, Grandfather was clever. He contacted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. God damn. He acquired this island as a business property, then tossed that project aside and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were preventative measures against food shortages, and having the sponsorship of the GHQ meant that nobody could oppose him. From what I'd heard, the Tokyo metropolis of that day offered this land to him practically free. Later, Tokyo made difficulties by telling Kinzo to return the land, but the pushy GHQ intervened. Anyway, it seems under-the-table bribes did their work well. And the Americans probably thought, aw, shucks, let's do our man Kinzo a solid, yeah. Hui. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Well, apart from the fact that, you know, our beloved grandfather was obsessed with this lady named Beatrice, the fact that the Americans are single-handedly responsible for reviving this family might explain all the fascination with Western stuff and why he named his children what he did. Bro probably would have immigrated to America if he could have. Grandfather, with considerable skill and good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it probably wasn't all luck. He was obsessed with all things Western, which helped him cultivate his English skills. He was able to use this to his advantage and sink his teeth into the GHQ. A mansion was built on the island soon after. This mansion, in fact. Grandfather, with his love of the Western style, made this once uninhabited island a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. He now had the Western mansion of his dreams, overflowing with emotion and atmosphere, and a beautiful garden featuring all sorts of roses. And he had a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. This would be a dream come true for any boy. After that, he made good use of his huge fortune, becoming a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person usually has the ability to foresee and predict the future, or at least that is how they're portrayed after the fact. But Grandfather denies all of that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that can't help but grow increasingly eccentric when locked up alone on an island, where all his dreams are made real. Everyone knows that he's had a Western obsession from the start, but none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Did his love of black magic begin way back when he became fascinated with everything Western? Or did his miraculous stretch of good luck while reviving his family cause him to feel a mysterious power in himself? At some point, Grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work. He filled his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre and, probably getting arsenic poisoning and stuff. Arsenic poisoning, mercury poisoning. From what I've heard, those around him warmly watched over him, figuring that someone who had achieved success in life had a right to do as he pleased, but there's no way that's true. They were probably just creeped out thinking that's disgusting. I don't want to get involved. Anyway, that agitated period was an age of big gambles with both opportunities and risks. Let's say Grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would probably have advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average salaryman. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking behind his boss's back. No, not in a fancy dining hall like this, more like a table in some bar. Then again, I'll bet this family conference would be a whole lot more relaxing if that were the case. Okay, that's enough about that old geezer. Moving on. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch! Okay, Battler, thank you. I'm already convinced by that sashimi salad appetizer. Goda-san's an excellent chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the adjacent seas, weren't they? They're totally different from the sashimi you get at the supermarket. Hey, quit it, Battler. Your upbringing will be exposed. Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs. I've eaten at many unusual places because of work, but this stands right up there with the best of them. I'd be willing to bet Goda-san used to be pretty well known in those circles. Well, I don't know the details, But stuff got complicated at the long-standing hotel he used to work at, what with them opening a new establishment with the same name and breaking into factions or whatever it was. Oh boy. In the middle of all that, he was apparently forced to retire. At that time, Mom just happened to be sending out job offers for her servant. As Goto removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing his smile. The world is a difficult place. However, thanks to the Madame, I was given a chance to display my skills as a chef once again. This time for the Ushiromiya family. Although I enjoy experiencing the smiles of a larger number of people, I also find it quite entertaining to perform more delicate work that can please the limited number of those who have employed me. All this is thanks to the opportunity given to me by the Madame. Goto-san respectfully bowed his head towards Aunt Natsuhi. That's because you were the most talented of the applicants. The decision was purely objective, not based on personal feelings, so there was no need to thank me. Dane. Why does Aunt Natsuhi always have to sound so indifferent? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, she might leave a different impression. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart. Please excuse us. Now then, let's move on to today's dessert. Goto-san and the others laid the beautifully adorned dessert out in front of us all. I guess it's true what they say when you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I'd already filled up on delicious food. But as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling more! I don't know much about desserts, but this looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce. And elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Normally, during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to the strict rules like that, so she got excited by this beautifully delicious dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, Now, it's okay. Oh! This part's sour! This part's sour! Badler, this one's no good! Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What, some are good and some are bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently one sauce was sweet and the other was sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my finger in and licked it. Whoa! One of the sauces was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is the sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated. Maybe her job was just set to set the table, so she didn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seemed pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they use some ingredient that where you'd be better off not knowing about? Uh-oh. While Aunt Natsuhi made a gesture that seemed to indicate an oncoming headache, Kumasawa-san, who was setting the table at the opposite seats, began to chuckle. What do you think we made it out of? It'll shock you. Huh? I don't have a clue. Hi, Butter. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. I'm doing pretty good. Hope you're doing well also. Wait a second. Kumasawa-san? That laugh's pretty creepy. So, what is it? Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully. Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. I'm afraid. I leaned forward myself when she asked. Their interest caught, Jessica, George, Aniki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer. Oh. What? What? Quickly! Quickly! You see, the sour part is made from juice squeezed from a mackerel. So it's blood, basically. That's crazy, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely. Mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. When Maria started clamoring that mackerels were sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter. Only Aunt Rosa, her face red, only Aunt Rosa, her face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only once prepared as shime saba. Now I totally remember. Kumasawa-san was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most lethal has gotta be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're kikurage mushrooms. She told me they were penguin meat, and I went all around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Oh, rip. Kumasawa-bachan, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe it now, right? Oh, it's just a joke. Now Goto-san's going to tell us what the sauce really is, won't he? Goto-san looked a little put out about his masterpiece being laughed at for such a bizarre reason. But after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose garden. The sauce is a combination of two reds, strawberry and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of the strawberry sweetness and the rose hips sourness. Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. With that said, please enjoy. Whoa! Man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Panna cotta can be so tasty. I've never had it, actually. Oh, and I did see the squad redeem. I will do that before end of stream, promise. Oh, it's this. Okay. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. I guess so. As Goto-san elaborated on the details of dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, shouldn't you call him subtle or just talented? The dessert was probably planned from the beginning. But taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness by just adding a few rose petals from that garden. The combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd just get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reached the sour sauce at that point, you'd get a really vivid taste. And then, once you returned to the sweet sauce, all of that sourness in your mouth would be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goto-san passed by one of our scenes, someone praised the taste in his presentation. How is it, madame? Splendid as always. It is worthy of entertaining our guests. I am most grateful for your words. Madame, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you, Natsuhine-san? Rosehip is great for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps. Goda-san, I love ya! Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how they're treating ya? Or if you can't, just let me know what sort of salary you'd like. Having your talent confined to the small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What do you think about working your craft for my company and delighting all our customers? Haha, Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to steal away our Goda? Now that won't do at all. We'd better start treating Goda better or he'll get snatched up. Yes, you really should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kumasawa-style macro cooking a day, won't you? That's harsh. Seems someone's holding a grudge against me. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa-san's macro jokes were a running gag that our parents had long since gotten used to. She really likes her fish. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value which could slow aging, make people smarter, and more. Supposedly, while they couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent it on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory. In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you'd better look forward to it. Yeah, we sure will. Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shime-saba. That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake. Oh, we certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokkenjima's famous mackerel shoshu? Oh god, not the shochu. Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. It was pretty funny to watch Goda-san, who looked like his show had totally been stolen, explain in a serious voice that we would be having calf steak for dinner. No! Not the cows! Not the baby cows! Kumasawa-san, thank you for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. Oh, I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa-san may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked about dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, was always suffering because of this small weakness. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake, like Goda, her life would have been a bit easier. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there were some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue. I just heard from Genji there will be a change in the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. I'm jealous. Huh? Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break. Ah, yes, I would be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had brought for Aunt Natsuki. Maria said she also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told us children to go play outside. Battler-kun, why don't we all go for a walk outside? Go ahead and take a look at the roses or something, but keep a close eye on the weather. The sky's still clear, but the weather report kept on talking about rain. I want to go to the beach! Oh, that sounds wonderful. Playing on the sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it? Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then. Let's go! And away she goes. Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes. Ugh. Won't get wet. That obedience is so cute. Battler-kun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself listening to Kirie's song like that. Why don't you also listen to me obediently for a change? Huh? Hell no. Let's go, everyone. Come on. Rip. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed the serving cart in and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aroma, which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst. Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Quit it. We're no match for your family, Aniki. That's true. You've raised Jessica-chan to be so adorable. I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talents at education and training, Natsuhi-ne-san. Thank you, Natsuhi answered coldly. The conversation broke off then, and the parlor fell silent. Oh, maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture. Still, they sure do grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but then they start getting huge all of a sudden, and then they're adults like us. Battler-kun looks like a completely different person now. His body has grown much bigger, but he's still just a kid. Though, you could say the same about my husband, Rip. Roasted. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I mean, that depends on the person. I still don't feel as though I've grown up. Is it that pitiful? That's a crazy thing to admit when you've got a 9-year-old. Though, I mean, if she had Maria when she was like 20 or something, then she'd only be 29. So I can understand not feeling like you're grown up. Until... Yeah, that's not something the mother of a child should say. That's right, we're not children anymore. We're all adults now, so I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. Oh, not the clock! When Ava smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though that pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window. Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark. Just as it always has. Oh? What is it you've always endeavored to do? My. I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that, whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the youngest sibling. Quit it, Anarchy. We'd better get started on our main topic while the brats aren't around. Let us make that intellectual discussion. As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable, true agenda. The inheritance? Yep. Oh, the cello! Last year, his life expectancy was estimated at about 3 months. Which, I guess, means he's got negative 9 months left now. Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time? The family head is still alive and well. The fact that you'd bring up such an inappropriate topic under the light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san. What do you mean? It's totally valid. Especially after the fit he had. Still, Natsuhi-san, this is the sort of thing you can't put off until after something happens. He's still healthy now, which makes this the perfect time to talk about this while we've still got time to plan. It's just a bit of financial etiquette, you might say. Z's father is the focus of everyone's concern. Dr. Nanjo, could we hear the details from you? This appears to be what everyone else is waiting for, after all. Nanjo, who'd been standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized that he was being called. Dr. Nanjo? How is father's condition? Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision, since my estimate last year that he had only 3 months left was not borne out. No need to explain. You're saying that measuring remaining life is only a prediction, not a promise, right? That is correct. Because of that, while I will accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human's life is supported by their body and their mind. If the body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous. But if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effect of one's condition can sometimes remain in a subdued state. So you're saying that even if his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited. Kirie, sorry, but please stay quiet for a bit. I'm sorry. That is correct. Kinzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of ill health. This will hold especially true as long as he continues to partake of such strong alcohol. So he's in a crisis now because he drinks. And maybe he's lived this long because he drinks. There's Dad for you, the heavy drinker. Well then, Doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction. But what do you think about Father's chances of living until this day next year? That's quite a rude question to ask about the family head. Natsuhi jumped on Ava, not even bothering to hide her astonished expression. Ava stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile. Natsuhi-san, forgive her. Ava, choose your words a bit more carefully, okay? I'm sorry. I was just so concerned about Father's condition. Is that so? I hadn't realized. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us. For the sake of the beautiful love of a daughter who's worried about her father's lifespan. Kraus laughed sarcastically, and Ava, smiling sweetly, returned an identical chuckle. You ask whether he will still be healthy next year, but as a doctor, it is very hard to say. Because while I do think this lull in his condition will continue for a while, if he suffers some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do. You mean like slamming books on his desk? After all, Rokkenjima is a solitary island. It's not as though an ambulance could quickly jump in to save him. Normally, I would want to have him placed in a large hospital on the mainland, but Father stated that he does not want his noble research interrupted. It seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently, he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now. Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him? Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. Seems he can be examined when in one of his better moods. I can examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've really only been able to look. It's true some people hate doctors. Still, what a hassle. Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless. So, to sum it up, he's still expected to live 3 months. There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while still on the verge of death. Rudolph-san, couldn't you be a little more discreet with your words? I mean, with this kind of topic? No. Ah, sorry. I've always talked this way. Give me a break. I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees it. What about you, Kraus-Nisan? To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it truly difficult to think of father as a person so sick that he only has 3 months left to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I still get chills at the thought of his fists raining down on me. Pushing the care of your father solely on the shoulders of the eldest sibling is far from fair. And the next world get born after me. Okay, let's get back on track. So, in the opinion of our impartial and neutral doctor, would it be odd for him to go anytime? No offense to you, Aniki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of an expert in his field. Which means it's definitely not too early to start talking about Dad's assets. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? Damn. Millionaire indeed. Especially in the 80s, that is a ton of money. But it's not as though that's all neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way to put it. That's right. You sometimes get strawberries or chocolate on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut it into equal parts. Given that, don't you think it's important to discuss beforehand how best to stick the knife in? This metaphor, damn. It's like they're talking about murdering him. This is before the Japanese economy crashed in like the 80s, 90s as well, I believe. Because, yeah, several billion yen. Depending how many billions would probably still be. So, let's do USD to yen. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 million yen today is just shy of 7,000 US dollars. 3. And 1 billion yen would be just shy of 7 million US. And this isn't today's money. So if it's tens, because what they say? Several 10 billion yen. So let's say 70 billion yen. Yeah, that's $48 million in today's money. In the 80s, that would, yeah, probably it's not that far a stretch to say this, dad's, Kinzo's a billionaire. I cannot understand how you can all openly discuss this as though the family head is dead, even though he's still alive. Ma'am, it's nice you're trying to be respectful of your father-in-law, but considering Kinzo refuses to write a will, it's better to figure this shit out before he dies and everyone starts pulling guns on each other. Come now, don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the glorious Ushinomiya's house's wealth is vast. Don't you understand that careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude! My birth family has nothing to do with this. Natsuki responded indignantly, though in a low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give it a rest, Ava. Natsuki-san, forgive us. Pardon her rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both with a forced smile. But it only resulted in making the hostility between Ava and Natsuki even more intense. It seems I'll just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it may have seemed like a normal act of courtesy. But his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Krause recrossed his legs. In other words, this is what you would all like to say. Father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter into a practical conference concerning the distribution of the inheritance. Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Ushinomiya family's wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we make careful and deliberate calculations? It seems to me that you are all impatient to split up the cake tonight. Isn't that true, Rosa? What reason is there to be hasty? We aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings. It doesn't matter when we do that, but if the day father's condition worsens is approaching, discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hasty to me. Rosa shot a glance at Ava and Rudolph. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. Oh? Is that your true opinion? I did expect that the most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say it. Quit it, Aniki. Rosa's one of Dad's kids, too. She's got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of us. It's only natural that she'd be interested. After all, Dad'll definitely die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Aniki, you're way too relaxed. It almost seems like you'd like nothing better than to turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something? Calm down, Natsuhi-san. Listen to what we have to say. Nii-san, I hear the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom and the yen keeps on rising. Oh god, the economy! Ah shit, here we go again. It's the bubble economy. It seems that's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Also, the ruling party says that it will establish health resort maintenance law by next year. At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about, trying to gather as much funding as they can. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll be a repeat of the Korean War demands, the time during which father revived the Ushinomiya family. The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving vast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that capitalize on that fact. The three kinds of electrical appliances no longer represent the people's needs. The three kinds of electrical appliances? What electrical appliances are those? Oh, the people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, so I guess the three kinds of electrical appliances no longer represent the people's needs means people need more than just the bare necessities now. Resort hotels and theme parks! Disneyland! No, I haven't been to Disneyland. Did you get to meet Bickle Mouse? Incredible. The happiest place on earth, Disneyland! Have to go someday, right? I mean, I've been to Disney World in Florida, but I haven't been to Disney Tokyo Sea. Unless they're talking about Oh, never mind. So Tokyo Disney Sea opened in 2001? So they are, in fact, talking about California Disneyland then. Interesting. Or... well, I'm not sure what they're talking about exactly, because the original Disneyland in California was in the 50s. And Disney World was the 70s? Either way. Oh, Tokyo Disney Sea is a separate one. I didn't know that. I thought Tokyo okay, yeah. Tokyo Disneyland is the one that opened in 1983. Tokyo Disney Sea is a separate theme park. Damn, Japan's got 2 Disneylands. Hi, Art! And yes. Welcome back, Ranger. What an excellent theme park. It's a place where even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Been a long day, hope you're well. Had to take a nap. I took 2 naps today, so I understand. Haven't been to Disneyland in a while? Fair enough. Yeah. I only went to Disney World once. When I was 12 or so, I guess. Poor Mama Melis. As a kid, of course, I was asking, you know, when are we gonna go to Disney World? When are we gonna go to Disney World? When are we gonna go to Disney World? And they're all like, oh, like eventually. And then apparently and all the kids say the darnest things, and my attempts to be nice and considerate to my mother. Apparently, I took her aside one day and I said, Mom, it's okay if we can never afford to go. Just tell me. And apparently that was like, you know, I might as well have just stabbed her straight in the stomach with a knife and twisted her intestines around it. Not sure how long after that question we ended up going to Disney World, but yeah. She told me that when I was a teenager, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't remember this conversation, but I am sure to God I did not mean to pressure you. I must have matured early? I think so. I mean, that's the most fair combo, yeah. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yeah, I got bullied quite a bit, so that definitely stunted me socially, I think. But also, Mama and Papa Melis got me started on an allowance and saving money quite early. Like, I got my $2 every weekend for doing chores, right? And, like, my parents still bought me stuff, but I had to justify it. If I could not justify it, they were like, well, spend your own money. So I would save up to buy, like, you know, computer games, which, like, you know, back in the 90s, those were, like, you know, $50, $60. Pretty much, you know, the same as it is today. So imagine how long it takes for a child to save $2 a week to be able to buy, like, you know, that Nancy Drew or, like, the Barbie computer game you were eyeballing for months and months. I don't know how much I saved up, but I also got fed up with never being able to watch TV. So I saved up and I bought my own, like, 8-inch television. I was like 10 years old or something like that. My parents obviously paid for a significant portion of it, but I think... No way? Oh yeah! I was only like about 10. Like, I definitely was not a teenager yet. Them box TVs? Yeah! Like a really small one. I remember the people at the store being flabbergasted. Because sure enough, I roll up with all my money, and Mom's like, yeah, no, she's the one buying it. We're footing the rest of the bill. Obviously, Mama and Papa and Malice supported a good chunk of that cost, but they were like, she saved up seriously for it for like a year, so like we'll cover the rest of it. But yeah, so that's why it does not surprise me that I had like a serious financial conversation with my parents. It's like, look, if we don't have the money, just tell me. Because I had already been raised to try and be responsible with money. The way I would just hover my hand in front of it and it got a staticky feeling. Oh no. Yeah, the old tube TVs. But yeah, I kept that one for quite a while. And then, you know, eventually, Mama and Papa and Malice got themselves a new TV, so I got the hand-me-down from the living room, which was like, you know, probably 15 inches, little bigger. And to this day, I still get hand-me-down TVs from my parents. I have not purchased a TV since that first one I bought way back when. I think I recently turned down a TV from my parents because I'm like, Iduna and her partner got a new TV, so I got theirs. I'm like, I have too many TVs now. I gave the old one to, like, Rumi John. Like, there's too many TVs now. No, thank you. Wore weird orange light inside, and it. You always wanted to take it apart. Do not touch the cathode ray. Is that what it is? Probably, but I know a lot of those old parts and those old TVs are vaguely, poisonous. Because, you know, it was like the 80s and all that stuff. Cross-on, your foresight is nothing to sneeze at. Surely you would not have taken apart your television. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 Nations Plaza Accord, that all changed. God, was not expecting this frickin' economic history lesson. Plaza Accord Japan lost decade? What does that mean? The Plaza Accord, a 1985 agreement among major economics to devalue the US dollar, is often linked to Japan's lost decade of the 1990s. While the accord aimed to reduce US trade deficits, its consequences, particularly the appreciation of the yen, contributed to the Japanese asset price bubble and subsequent economic woes. Oh, so that's what caused the bubble economy. Gotcha. Because I knew Japan had, like, an economy crash in the 80s and 90s. But I didn't realize it was because of the Plaza Accord, because they devalued the US dollar, and that boosted the yen a bit too much, and, like, you know, things went a little too crazy. So when the US dollar bounced back, everything came crashing to the ground. Goddamn, the US. The US ruins everything. The yen shot up, and I'll bet the price of land skyrockets soon, too. The music? You know, I can see where you're coming from, that it does feel kind of grand orchestral big boss music. Don't I can shit on the US. I'm not a US citizen. I'm Canadian. That's the country I live in. Don't hate on it. The country you live in sucks. No one I know who lives in the US actually likes the US. The people who live in the US who like the US are, scary people from what I've seen. You know what, Fair? You love Mexico? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. 'Cause, you know how... Maybe it's because y'all have only lived in, the US, or mostly lived in the US in your lives, but the way that some people are patriotic about the US is not normal. Like, when I drive through the US with like friends to go to a convention, and we see like we're going through like Pennsylvania or something, and we see every house having a US flag, we're like, what the heck? Because in Canada, you might see a single Canadian flag for a whole block. Like, we are not patriotic the way that some people in the US are. So, like, yeah, people are like, hey, I like the US. I'm like, why? Why do you, why is your country a point of pride? Because it's like, yeah, you know, sometimes the Canadian flags go up, especially, like, you know, if, like, something happened in the world and people are feeling particularly patriotic. But overall, going through the US and seeing all the flags, I'm like, damn. Like, that's crazy. It won't become long before Japan becomes the economic center of the world. About that. More better colleges than most places? True. I mean, yeah. Yes, you guys do have MIT. I think Canada's only standout university is McGill, which is in Montreal. Yeah, age of economic growth. This is interesting, though, because I was reading at some point about the... What's the word I'm looking for? The development of... You hear good things about Simon Fraser in British Columbia? Oh, fair enough. British Columbia is very far away from me, so I don't know the West Coast as well as I know, like, kind of like central Canada. But yeah, talking about Japan's 80s economic growth reminded me of something I read speculating about the rise of cyberpunk and why, in particular, Japan and Japanese became such a prominent part of the landscape of cyberpunk. And it's because cyberpunk started in the 80s, and it was in part, and like it was based off the idea that, you know, Japan was going to become the major economic power like they were talking about. Which is why, you know, even though, you know, cyberpunk series are often set in the US, like there's all, like, you know, the Japanese conglomerates and the emperor and all that shit. Bow bow! So yeah, it was very interesting to see them talking about this, because yeah, it's crazy how all of this comes together. You needed a bow bow? Aww. Bow bow. I give you a whoosha 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 head pat as well. You've got a great sense of the direction the world's moving, Kraus-san. At least there can be no debate about that. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. Aniki, you can read into the next decade of history. I'll bet you've got that keen sense from Dad, and it's incredible. However, unlike Dad, the timing of your predictions has been a bit off sometimes, right? Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon see a boom, but almost all of them continue to fail. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You can predict that there's going to be a need, and you might be correct, but if you start too early, then you're just throwing money away. Well, I'm sure that the era you predicted will soon arrive. It seems you misread the timing of that boom. You were too early. You then panicked and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the wound even further. Dee for president? Oh my gosh. If your nose was really so reliable, then there should be no reason for you to sell off your property. Is this proof that you mistrust your own ability? I seem very natural at this? Gosh. Such high praise. How rude. Are you trying to insult my husband? Yes. Yes, they are. Also, they're siblings, so I guess they can... We really need a VTuber in office at any capacity? That's crazy to think about. I mean, there might be someone, but they gotta keep it low-key. Natsuhi's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. One day we will have VTubers as a senator or something. This is just making me think of that one clip where Iron Mouse was being projected onto a screen in New York Times Square, and because of the timing, she ended up in the background of like a CNN news show, like financial news show or something, so she looks like one of the panelists. We've come a long way to want VTubers in government positions. I mean, I don't know about in government positions, but in Japan, they have definitely had VTubers as like panelists on shows. Like entertainment shows mostly, but still. Ava, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down. Please stop, Natsuhi. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little, or your headache will get worse. Oh, she's high-strung, and that's why she gets migraines. Relatable. There's proof of your lack of talent right next to us. After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort? Oh, you were gonna do what to the family home? No wonder Dad's pissed. You built a wonderful resort hotel and beautifully maintained the garden. Oh, the guest house was meant to be for the resort. Woof. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right? And what is that to you? My husband's business is none of yours. I mean, technically it is. This is the family island. He doesn't own the land. 500,000 yen for a dinner with Ushiro Miya Kraus. Bring your own food, though. Damn. Actually, that's not true, Natsuhi-san. Rokkenjima doesn't belong to Aniki. It belongs to Dad. Of course, the hotel does belong to Aniki, right? In fact, we'd be more than willing to pay lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa? Well, if what I have on hand will suffice. If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It's true that expenses have piled up, but we can expect a large harvest in the future. When that happens, all of you stand to profit as well, do you not? I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that'll increase our portions when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. We could just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property. If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied? We aren't dissatisfied. We're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan to open that hotel? Left this way, you won't get anything out of it except our grubby handprints, right? That's right. It's an important tool for your business, isn't it? Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it. Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while. Yeah, Mama and Papa and Melis, before they retired, were civil servants, like low end. So yeah, similarly, depending what industries you live in, you can't give out stuff anyway, so... That's why I said there's probably there might be a VTuber whose day job is in politics or adjacent, but they have to be low-key about it because, depending on their position, there's certain rules you have to follow, so... A lot of this stuff is going over your head. Hey, economics and like real estate, business management 101 at 9 p.m. at night. What could go wrong? Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Right, Rosa? That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it will become quite popular once you open it. Oh. So the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house. It's splendid. Just as Rosa said, if you were to open it, I'm sure it would become popular. The lodging that they had been guided to wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening. Nissan, it's just like all of your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous. Then, it always becomes unmaintainable partway through, and ends before you have a chance to earn any profit. You were brilliant when you saw that using this island only as a place to live was a waste. I think it was a pretty good plan to turn it into a resort that could use the prospect of marine sports, fishing, honeymoons, and the like to attract customers. If I were the oldest son, I'm sure I'd have strained my brain looking for a way to make a profit off this island. But 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right? After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it. Where's the managing company you entrusted it to? Impertinence? That is not my husband's fault. There just has been some trouble with the company that my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we are victims here. Thank you, Natsuhi, for airing out the family laundry. And yet, the rumors we've heard about this company you've hired haven't been good at all. Let's be clear about this, dear. Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to the project disintegrating mid-flight? Embezzlement? Oh, fuck. Bedwards! Hello, thank you for the follow. Good grief. So basically, the gist to get from this family is, while on paper, they're rich because of Daddy Dearest, each individual child is having some kind of extreme financial issue. And so, because of that, they are really desperate to get their grubby little paws on Daddy's money. AKA, he's exactly what Dad was afraid of. Huge Umi fan here. You're in for a great time. Excellent. Yeah, I love Higurashi, but I've never, for whatever reason, never had the chance to go through and read UMINEKO. So I'm glad I finally set aside some time. We even have evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence you think you found, but it's all baseless. As new members in the tourism industry, it is necessary for us to lay the groundwork with various people. It is also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. It's merely taken us some time to meet that goal. I'll admit that in my rashness, the hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paying maintenance costs. It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant. Liar. I'll bet you want to liquidate it, but can't. After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated, empty island without any established sightseeing routes. DD stream plus rain is just the best time ever. Aww, that's so nice to hear. I also love the rain. Rain is delightful. Coincidentally, on the weekend when when my parents were visiting and we were visiting other relatives as well, they were talking about how poor Mama Melis would have to, like, I would have trouble sleeping as a baby and I would pass out in the car. But then, like, as soon as you try to bring the car back home and, like, bring me inside, I would wake up and start screaming again. So, like, Mom would just have to keep driving the car around until I was, like, completely passed out. And to this day, if I'm having really bad insomnia, I still put on the sounds of rain and or traffic to help me pass out. I feel bad for everyone who's ever carpooled with me to work because, yeah, since I don't drive, I'm always a passenger. And then, yeah, I just, like, conk out almost immediately. I feel so bad because, yeah, it was just me and this one other lady in the car. And there was bad traffic, and I just passed out. And then I woke up, and I'm like, oh, shoot. Are we running late? And she's like, yeah, there's a lot of snow. I'm like, okay. And then I passed out again. Wow, that was so relaxing, huh? Right? Go back to when I was just a 2-month-old bean and I said I'm just an alternate universe deity. Honestly, yeah. It's funny how sometimes people can be so similar even when they've never met before and all that stuff. But yes, hello, Dracon. Doing well. We've had this, like, crazy music going in the background for a while now. They're having some really tense economic discussions in, like, the tea parlor. And anyway, what about all those loans you made for this project? Not the loans. Even if you aren't incurring maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Kraus Nissan, but I've investigated the development plan for this island a bit. Woof. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Some people just tend to be very similar. So true. Hideyoshi-san, I can see how you might be left with that impression by looking only at the current financial situation. However, this is a forward-looking investment. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken, and that up until now, several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that I have lost up to this point. Oh, it would be a shame if something were to happen to this island or something. No, actually, all of the investments I have made until now will finally return to my possession. That's right, just like throwing away a small fry to catch a salmon, they will come back even bigger than before. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before long. Though I don't know if it'll be enough to cover all your debt. However, Klaus Nissan, after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with funding? And this isn't some small amount we're talking about. You'll need enough funding to fill the massive hole you've dug. What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Natsuhi-san, please don't get angry. We looked into this too. We checked to see who might have provided Klaus Nissan with enough financing to support his recent large-scale projects despite his string of failures. And we discovered that no such backer exists. The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Aniki, you're a fairly well-known loser in this field. It's true that prosperous times are about to come, but when we looked for people who consider that enough to overlook your string of failures, and also had enough for the investment, we found no candidates. So, the big question now is where you got that money from. Oh, now isn't this intriguing? And? Dear, how long do you plan to let these ridiculous remarks stand? Sit down, Natsuhi-san. Let's cut to the point. Aniki, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own businesses. Oh! Fuck, that's a crime. That's a crime. Especially if you don't have power of attorney. There's pretty much no room for doubt. If you think we made some kind of mistake, please feel free to explain. Rudolph, don't call it diverting funds. This is embezzlement, plain and simple. A huge crime that can be criminally prosecuted. This sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face the successor to the Ushinomiya head family and level these absurd accusations? Because he's gonna bankrupt the family. They aren't absurd. They're right on the mark. I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt keeps getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble by making an even bigger one. It's only natural that he try to grab any source of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nissan. What you're doing is embezzlement. You're betraying father. You know that we'll have the court settle this after it's all over, right? Do you think that kind of person has any right to call themselves the successor to the Ushinomiya head family? Of all the... You dare to claim that he has betrayed the head family? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushinomiya family. Leave this place at once. It's not your house. It's not your house, ma'am. It's not your house, Natsuhi. Natsuhi had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Ava in a rage. She then pointed alternately at Ava in the hallway, demanding that she leave. Ava took out a folding fan and fanned herself with it, glaring maliciously at Natsuhi as though silently daring her to repeat what she'd said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Hey, Natsuhine-san. To whom do you think you are speaking in such a tone? I am speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my husband, but because of the way the Ushinomiya family works, she is way below Ava. As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this. In charge of the kitchen? Be silent, lowly maidservant. Ava folded the fan with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she'd shown until a second ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive. How foolish! You stand down! Before Ava of the Ushinomiya family. You tell me to stand down? Me, Ushinomiya Ava, the third ranked in the Ushinomiya family hierarchy, and the one allowed to sit at the left shoulder of the head? Know your place. And then look at your shabby self in a mirror. Where is the symbol of the wing on your clothes? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged eagle? Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed womb to house the next successor? Jesus. Understand your place. I mean, this is some crazy family politics. Ava's face twisted hideously as her words gouged into Natsuki's heart like talons wrenching at it. This game has a lot of drama? Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, it's about rich people trying to get an inheritance. We all know how this is gonna go down. There were 100 ways Natsuki wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words. Blah, 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 blah. I'm starting to get tongue-tied. You know it's close to stream ending, but I don't want to stop in the middle of this scene. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words managed to make it to her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go. It became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Ava faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuki could do nothing but tremble, her clenched fists quivering. Kraus quietly broke that powder keg tension. Natsuki, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. What? Natsuki, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. I mean, literally. What do you expect marrying into this family? The fact that he even let her stay in the room is a shock, honestly. Dear, don't you understand what they're saying about you? These people are basically calling you a traitor to father. They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushinomiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn that glory from father. They trample all on that underfoot with their hateful rambling. And you don't even try to fight back. Why? I'm only standing up for us because you won't. But you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now you tell me to go cool my head? It's always me. Even though I have always considered this family's affair so seriously, Natsuki was already unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After that, all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. It's even been rough for me. If that's what's been managing your household, you must suffer to no end. Damn! Oh, and there she goes. Madame, it's nothing. Leave me be. Natsuhi flew into her room and threw herself onto her bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Madame Natsuhi. There is a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very trying for me as a woman. The Ushiromiya family holds blood in high regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they are normally removed from the family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Eva should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there was no one deserving of blame in this matter. The Madame certainly bears no guilt. There's nothing to call it other than a whim of God. Oh, was Ava allowed to stay? Because she was the one, she has the oldest son? Kraus-sama and Natsuhi-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this is the male-dominant Ushiromiya family. A wife is merely a tool to create an heir. If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she will not even be treated as a human. Jesus! It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madame during that time. Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being discussed. Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushiromiya register. There was a vast difference in the Ushiromiya hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Ushiromiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushiromiya name. Furthermore, Eva-sama actually gave birth first and to a boy. As for how much weaker Madame's position was than Eva-sama, well, I believe you could see for yourself. I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage. And Eva-sama would have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that was not Madame's fault. All of the blame lies with God's whims and the stork that delivered Jessica late. Even so, Madame won't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as a woman at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. How gender essentialist. Ah, how sad. I cannot do anything except watch over her from the shadows. And I guess time's going backwards because we're gonna go see the kids after this for a palate cleanser. Yep. That's what I thought. What a mess. Not the frickin' glass. So we have nothing in the tips yet. Okay, fair enough. I was like, if we have any tips yet, I would have read them just to like pad out time a little bit, but nah. Alrighty. This game is very interesting. I'm glad. Like I know Higurashi, which is the first game by this creator, has like a much bigger following overall because it's much more of a crazy murder mystery thing. But this is certainly building up to some interesting political drama and intrigue. Comfy day or nay? Definitely a comfy day. Always comfy day. Okay, tomorrow, the plan is to go back to the 100 line. Hopefully we can at least finish one ending soon. In a perfect world, I would like to go back and finish more endings, but considering the game takes 200 hours, I'm like, it would be a long time. So it might just be something we come back to periodically. Well, once we finish all the Danganronpa games, that'll free up a slot, so to speak, until more games come out. Pain and suffering. Too many games! Too many games! All endings, all endings. All crazy endings. Would be, I always make the day better, even after your mental battery entered the negatives. Aww. That makes me so happy to hear. I'm glad. Alrighty. So let's see who I can send you guys to. And yeah, schedule for this week is up. And since I've started getting into the habit of planning the month out in advance, I know roughly what we're going to be doing for the rest of June. But I will share that another time, like once the weekend comes around. Let's see here. Ooh, Junie is playing Chrono Trigger. That seems like that's a good palate cleanser. Alrighty, so here is Raid. And for anyone lurking about who wants to, here is Discord. So you can keep up with us when we're not streaming. We mostly just hang out and chit-chat in there, but we do anime watch-alongs every Sunday evening. If that's something you're interested in. Ooh, big stretch. But for now, that is gonna be it for me. So, if it's daytime where you are, very interested now. Excellent. Yeah, this is Junie's subathon. Or, yeah, I forgot about that. Junie-thon. Excellent. Alrighty. That's gonna be it for me. So, if it's daytime where you are, have a wonderful rest of your day. And if it's nighttime, have a great rest when you head on off to bed. Until next time, take care of yourself. Pep and Moku for you, of course. Alrighty. Wash your face, brush your teeth, eat good food, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.